Williamson was the best player in college basketball last year as a freshman. Had one of the most dominant freshman seasons of all time. Now he's heading to the NBA as the number one prospect. Let's go ahead and get into some things we like about Zion and talk about just his overall profile and how he projects to the next level. So to start off, Zion averaged 22.6 points per game, 8.9 rebounds per game, 3.5 offensive rebounds per game, 2.1 assists, 68% from the field, 33.8% from the three-point, and 2.2 attempts as well. 69% from the free throw line, 2.1 steals per game, 1.8 blocks per game. So that was a fantastic stat line to put up for his freshman year. Most notably, the efficiency was insane. A lot of his shots came at the rim due to him just overpowering everyone else, just barreling down the lane, no one being able to stop him. And that also led him to having the highest PER ever recorded in NCAA history at 41.4, which is absolutely insane. Alright, let's get into the strengths of Zion Williamson. So initially off the bat, obviously everyone notices the generational athleticism. This kid has insane vertical, insane leaping ability off either foot. Really good straight line speed, open court speed, especially for his size. I mean, his body frame and mixed with the athleticism is what makes him so intriguing. He's 6'7" with 285 pounds. He would instantly be the heaviest player in the NBA as soon as he gets drafted, which is insane. He's only 19. But he's much faster than you would expect, for someone at that weight. Along with athleticism and body frame, he also has a really good handle and playmaking ability for his position. He took a lot of, you could see him running the offense at times at Duke. He would have good transition opportunities, which is another thing I like, transition potential. Like I said, he showed flashes of it at Duke. The ability to grab a rebound, push the ball up court, and make the right reads. I mean, he made a lot of right reads in open court transition. Either he would attack the basket, obviously get a bucket. Not many people could stop that. 285 pounds coming straight down at you. There's not many things you could do about that. He will make the right pass in the open court, getting a teammate open because he attracts a lot of attention. So he made some really good passes, and there's a lot of potential right there as a playmaker / ball handler in the next level. Also, I mean, obviously, he's a great rebounder. I mean, his mix of strength, leaping ability, with his size, he should be a good rebounder. And, he is, like I said, averaged 8.9 rebounds per game, 3.5 offensive rebounds. And that's where a lot of his potential right there as well, being a fantastic offensive rebounder and the ability to put back those second chance points coming very clutch in tight games and where every possession counts, and being able to get another possession or the ability to just put it back, get some nice putbacks. And he definitely has potential on that side, similar to what Tristan Thompson brings, the value that he did to the Cavs a couple years ago. Someone that can grab those offensive rebounds, get second chance points. Second chance points are huge if you can get them. That's a big part of the game. Another thing we love, specifically me, because I'm a defensive fanatic, Zion's versatility and the ability to guard 1 through 5. He definitely displayed that last year at Duke. Guarded a lot of the perimeter. He did it really well. I expected it. I didn't think his lateral quickness would be this good, specifically for his size. There's a lot of people that are good straight line speed, but they're not necessarily good laterally or agile. But I mean, he's both. It's insane. This guy's a complete anomaly athletically. And he was guarding the perimeter well. He averaged 2.1 steals per game. He played the passing lanes a lot. That's also one of his weaknesses, so we'll get into that later. But 2.1 steals per game is really well for his size. 1.8 blocks due to his athletic ability. He would bang down low in the bigs, guard bigger guys, or switch out to the perimeter and do pretty well. Obviously, there are things he needs to clean up, but I mean, at this stage, it's not too much of a worry. But the versatility is definitely there. He reminds me of someone like a Draymond being able to guard 1 through 5. He definitely has that kind of upside on the defensive side of the ball, and I think there's a good possibility he'll be able to reach that. That just continues to add to his value and why he's the number one prospect by far. My final strength listed for Zion is his most important one, and the biggest reason why I feel like he won't bust, live up to his potential that everyone's placing on him. But at the very least, he'll be a very good starter for many years to come, and that's because his motor. Very underrated asset. A lot of people don't really, take this into account, but it's a pretty big part of how, players project whether or not they actually want to play basketball or they have a love for the game. And Zion displays that by playing hard in every play. Whether it's a blowout, he's still diving for loose balls. Whether they're playing a low-level school or D1 school, he plays with the same competitive edge and fire. and the motor and the will to win, the desire to win. And Zion does that. He does everything he can to win the game. He displayed that last year at Duke, and guys like that usually are, don't want to sound disrespectful, but not as talented as some of the other guys, but they make up for it because they play really hard with high motor. You look at guys like Montrezl Harrell, Patrick Beverly, PJ Tucker, but to have a guy like Zion this talented play with that such high of a motor is what makes him so special and so dangerous, and why he projects well to the next level, excuse me. Another note I wanted to add, which continues to add to his spectacular season, was the fact that he was so efficient and did everything he did last year without shooting on the floor for Duke. I mean, they were one of the worst shooting teams in the nation last year. They had bad floor spacing all season, and he was still able to be that efficient and produce as well as he did. I mean, you look at RJ Barrett and Cam Reddish, two guys that I'm also still very high on, but their efficiency numbers were way below, than what was expected, and that was because, Duke's system. I think a lot of people are overrating their efficiency. I'll get into that in their draft profile things, but their two efficiencies were hindered by Krzyzewski's system because they didn't have any shooters on the floor, and Zion was just a complete dominant force. Still was super efficient despite all of that. It just goes to show how dominant he was last year. Alright, let's get into some things Zion can work on. Obviously, making his jumper a little bit more, clean up a little bit, making it more consistent. But it wasn't bad. He shot, like I said earlier, he shot 33.8%, practically 34%, which is only slightly below league average. So that's not horrible. 2.2 attempts is good enough volume that if he were to put up those type of numbers in the next level, that should be good enough to have, teams make it respectable at least. Unlike, it's not a Ben Simmons situation where he doesn't shoot at all. He's horrible, completely atrocious. Simmons doesn't attempt them at all. Zion's at least showing a willingness to take them, keep the defense on their heels at the very least. There's always room to improve, but at least there's something to work with. The next thing is the weight. I know it's considered, kind of a strength, because he uses his strength well. But, I mean, realistically speaking, long term, 285 pounds, like I said, he'd be by far the heaviest player in the league. And he's only 6'7", so how sustainable is that for his knees? And considering his play style, that he's a very above the rim, high leaper, that adds more to your knees. And definitely has to be a long-term worry for teams, If he can cut down to like 270 maybe, I think that'd be good enough. LeBron played at like 260, 265 for the majority of his career, so 270 should be good enough. But 285 just seems like too much for me, and that definitely gives me some worry about his knees eventually. Something has to come up eventually. This shouldn't be too much of a problem, but I could see scenarios where it would, cause him trouble at times. His lack of length will bother him on offense, meaning that he's only 6'7" with a 6'10" wingspan. So, when he finishes, the teams are eventually going to put longer defenders on him to try to bother him. And I could see certain scenarios where, that would, he'd have a hard time finishing over them because he doesn't have too much length himself. But like I said, it shouldn't be too much of a problem. And the final thing, this isn't too much of a worry. This is just, simple stuff that you pretty much see in all prospects at this age. His defensive technique, just instincts overall, off the ball feel for the game. But that'll come with more reps and time, so it's not too much of a problem. Just, a problem as of now, but everyone usually cleans that up as they get into the league with more reps. Okay, we're going to wrap this up with my pro comp for Zion, and then pretty much just my final thoughts on him. My pro comp is a Larry Johnson, Draymond Green hybrid. Larry Johnson for his build and his frame and his offensive skill set, and Draymond Green for his defensive skill set and versatility, as well as his playmaking ability. I think that's, a good comp right there for Zion if he were to live up to his potential. Alright, my final thoughts on Zion. I think he'll be a great player. As long as he gets spacing on the floor all the time, he'll be able to utilize his talents and his abilities to slash to the rim and penetrate and be able to, dominate the open court, pretty much do what he can do. Similar to the Bucks system that they have right now with Giannis, pure shooters all around him, and it's working. They are 2 games away from the NBA Finals as we speak right now, or as I'm speaking. And I think a stretch 5 would be prototypical for Zion to completely unlock his potential. Like I said, similar to what the Bucks system has right now, a Brook Lopez type, Anthony Davis type. Speaking of Anthony Davis, he's on the New Orleans Pelicans. However, I do think he's going to get traded. If they are able to convince AD, I think that would be a fantastic tandem right there, and they could easily be one of the best teams in the West if they just continue to add, because Zion and Anthony Davis would be a dominant 1-2 tandem right there. And Davis will be able to help make up for some of Zion's deficiencies and just make him a better defender. And that would just be amazing to see. I really hope Anthony Davis stays so they can both, feed off each other. And I think this would be a David Robinson, Tim Duncan type of combo right there, honestly. But if they were to trade AD, which I think is the most likely scenario right now, for a more traditional five, I could see him struggling a little bit his rookie year, trying to adjust. Anyway, that's all we got to say for today. Thank you for watching. If you're still here, here's my Zion Williamson scouting profile. Hope you guys enjoyed and hopefully give you some insight on Zion. If you're a Pelicans fan or if the pick gets traded or something, or whoever's team fan you are, if you're just a Zion fan in general. Hope you guys enjoyed and hopefully it was pretty good analysis and correct scouting. Thank you.